Welcome to the 176th broadcast of the T-ROH Show. It's your host, Keith. I'm going to talk about a few things like we normally do is going on in the newspaper, and then I've got some other really cool information for everybody that they're going to like, I believe. We're going to show you what the Crown, the 1 mile square Rothschild deal, is the City of London is operating on, and how the NWO is screwing with you. So we'll get to that here in just a little while. First, we got to go over the newspaper stuff just to give everybody up, get everybody up to speed on what's been going on for the week. The websites are coming along. AmericanNationalUnion.com, that's coming along. That was just opened up a couple of days ago. Those guys are doing some great work there. I think we have one guy asked about the trucking union. That website has to be restarted, so just give us a little time and we'll take care of that. It's being rebuilt. The T-ROH show is being rebuilt, so you're going to see some weird stuff if you're subscribed to it. The T-ROH show, that's www.t-rohshow.com. That is a that website is being rebuilt. So if you keep getting weird stuff, like weird postings of old T-ROHs, that's the reason why. Just wanted to let you know in your email. Okay, we've got a couple of interesting things that happened this week. And that would be the international public notice to Amazon. It says common law lien and writ of attachment against all Amazon issued stocks is hereby published. So we put the lien against that. Now, people have been asking us to say, well, have you collected, or have you did this and do that? That's not the reason why we're doing it. This isn't about money. So if people think we're trying to do this for money, then you're missing the whole point of life itself. Because I'm going to show you what money really is and how it's being spent and how you're actually being screwed on a daily basis here in just a few minutes. But there's a good reason why this is happening. You'll see the effects of this real soon. It just takes just a little while, because you actually have to know who makes decisions in this world, or what makes decisions in this world when it comes to countries and things like that. So that comes later. We'll figure it out. We had another Anavon fraud come up this week. We had to address. People always ask us, why do we address this stuff? Probably because this woman is the single source of a confusing everybody. She's worse than the CIA when it comes to confusion. So we have to keep on top of it because of all the lies that come out. We keep on top of that so people realize that the woman is really good at lying. She's really good at it. So I always call her Crazy Anna. She's the one that started the fraudulent Continental Marshals. We didn't. Just because we have Continental dollars doesn't mean that we started the Continental Marshals. That was the biggest joke on the planet when I heard that. I talked to one of the guys that said he was a Continental Marshal. He was on our committee call. I think it was right after an assembly meeting, and he starts talking, and I said, he said, you're Continental Marshal, right? I said, you realize the U.S. Marshals aren't going to take, real kindly to this. And, well, we're under common law. I said, okay. I said, where's your Constitution? Do you have anybody in charge? No, we're under common law. We took an oath to the people. So I said, okay, you took an oath to what people? To the people. What people? He couldn't tell me that. So people under common law. I said, what people under common law? I said, if I were to be injured by the Continental Marshals, I said, who do I go to? Who's in charge? What are the procedures for writing a complaint? Where do I file that complaint against the Continental Marshal? Well, it's under common law. That's the only answer I got. It was under common law. I said, okay, so common law means do whatever the hell you want. Is that what that means? Common law? So when you don't have an answer, or you don't have an answer to a question, and you haven't prepared properly your organization, then the only go-to answer is common law. Well, there was Anna was supposedly helping some people over in Colorado. We call them the Colorado Nine, into falling for that fraudulent organization, because it really wasn't an organization. It's just, it came out of somebody's head. I don't know who the hell brought it up, except for we know Anna had something to do with it. So a part of the Colorado Nine ended up in jail. One, Bruce Doucette, for at least 38 years for a host of crimes. It's because he started putting liens on judges' properties and shit. It's not how this works, folks. So she says, she says this. She goes, "I have on my desk a thing purporting to be issued as an official Continental Marshal's oath that is being distributed under the equally purported authority of the General Post Office." Bullshit. We never did nothing. Baby, that's all yours. That is your reliability. That is your fraud. We have nothing to do with it. Nothing. And never had anything to do with it. As a matter of fact, we made fun of it and still make fun of it. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Then it was made up that, oh, well, the in this whole article that she wrote, here's the link right here. This whole article she wrote, it's going to be interesting how the U.S. Marshals think that, or they're going to be told that their jurisdiction's of the sea. No, that's not. When I read that, I go, oh my God. Well, the bitch is in trouble again. She's up to something, and she's doing something because she knows something's up. And so she's got to make up all this stuff. You know, they're of the sea and we're superior and all this other horse shit. So people will protect her, is what she's after. The way that we understand it. It says, the United States of America has not issued nor authorized any such oath. You're right, we didn't. And does not recognize any such General Post Office. We don't care what you recognize, bitch. We have people that have oaths to this, to the United States of America, which is the country. Okay? And every time that this woman speaks, she thinks she's speaking for them, and they're going to start leaning her ass up every time she opens her mouth. That woman that starts posting shit again, they're going to start leaning her up. They're going to be sending liens over there because she has no power of attorney for the people that, the real people that have actual oath and affirmation to the United States of America. Oath or affirmation, okay? Never created any such oath. We never did nothing. Not even close. Oh, here it is. Our Continental Marshals is not to be confused with any such renegade and foreign effort led by Keith Livingway or associated with him in any way, shape, or form. You're right. You got it, baby. No way in hell. The same can be said for another organization attempting to infringe on our patents, trademarks, and copyrights. You can copyright that shit all you want. It's all yours. Now, this is funny. This is here. The current example appears to come from Reign of Heaven Society. Well, there is no such thing as a Reign of Heaven Society. It's Reign of the Heavens Society. She always changes that, just letting you know. And she's made, that's a straw man. So this is a straw man right here. This never existed. A complete fabrication. Its leader, Keith Livingway, went to a naval yard auction. No, bought some memorabilia left over the Scottish interlopers' 1907 bankruptcy, including the original copy of the Articles of Confederation, which he thinks confers some magical ability on his part to claim it as abandoned property. No, that's not what happened at all. I've never been to the naval yard auction ever. I don't even think they have them. If you ever, you might want to go to the naval yard or actually call the naval yard and find out if they have an auction, because I don't think they do. I've never been to a naval yard auction. Matter of fact, I've told people what I did and how it happened. I don't know anything about Scottish interlopers, 1907 bankruptcy. I know nothing about that. I've never seen anything about it. That's completely made up, folks. And I don't think, how do you, what do you mean? I think. You don't tell me what I think. You don't know what I think. and use it to create his own magic kingdom in the name of. That's all crazy. She's just all she's trying to do, and I'm gonna show you exactly how this woman operates. All she's trying to do is make it appear as if I'm some crazy dude, because what she wants is control of the country. She doesn't want it in the hands of the people. She wants it in control of herself. She wants it for herself. She talks about being a monarch and all that crap. Okay. All the rest of this you're welcome to read. We did notice of lien because on the court jackets, one of them just happens to be, oh, there she is, and James Clinton Belcher and Paul Stramer. They all have liens on them. Southern Poverty Law Center and Keith Ellison, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Linda Sosor. These are all militants. See, women in Islam are not allowed to do what these women do, so they reclassify them as militants. And when they do that, they're not women, right? So that's how they're able to do what they do, and not have to wear all this crap on their head and all that, or the burqas and all that. So there you got that. I'm going to go a little bit faster here because I would like to get to this other thing. Okay, here it is, copyright to your trade name. There's a document she put out under copyright to your trade name. Watch out for this shit, okay? We've got her formula on how she writes things, on how the whole crew writes things. It's not just her. There's many other people involved in this, and these guys, some of them work for MI6. There's one up in Michigan that works for MI6, and that we know of for sure, and a couple of others. All right, MI6 is the CIA for England, so we know that's how these guys work. And I was going to do a whole show about it, all the details. We just got pulled off onto something else, but because we talked to the woman that actually lived with the guy that did this and that works with what was his name, Anna and her husband and this Paul Stramer guy. Okay, so yeah, they run scams constantly. It's just keep you off balance is what they're doing. Okay, so this is what she does is on the numerous times that Anna, hereinafter the fugitive, has converted the country, the United States of America, into a private trust, calling it the United States of America Unincorporated. See, I didn't realize that's what she was doing. She knows she can't claim the country. She knows it's already claimed. So she created a trust of her own called that. And then she kept putting unincorporated. And then every time she writes, she splits things off into 3 different areas. One will be a corporation, another spelling in there, and then hers. Okay? And her trust. So what she does is that it's always in 3s. She'll split it off in 3s and the name, and then make hers the correct one for you. And that's how she does it. It says, and claims there are incorporated versions of the name declaring the name of the United States of America unincorporated is the only legitimate entity. The fugitive further claims that the trust has superior international jurisdiction over everything. That's a trustee. Remember, she signs things fiduciary. Anna Von writes fiduciary of the United States of America. So when did this turn into a trust? And it never did. She converted it into, she turned this into her own trust just by changing the name, by putting unincorporated at the end of it in parentheses. Okay, and she put it in parentheses, this right here, and changed it just a little bit so she could use this name and make it appear as if it was a country that she was talking about. She's not talking about that. She's talking about her own personal trust. Okay, the act of a fugitive is a felony conversion of the international record into a privately owned entity that is being passed off as public as legitimate. It says that trafficking in persons is being hidden under a service known as claiming the trade name out of a Sestake v. Trust, wherein there is no evidence of contract joinder by and between the person and the Sestake v. Trust. Okay, we've heard about the Sestake v. Trust over and over. I just don't have any evidence that my person is in that trust or attached to it. Show me the list where my name is listed on it and that it's subject to those articles of the Sestake v. Act. Let me know and I'll work with it. Otherwise, it's all just been hearsay. It's all conspiracy crap over the internet. Okay, So realize that there's show me, and I'll believe you. Otherwise, I don't see it. You're going to show me everything else, but you're not going to show me where my name, my person, is under that trust. Okay. All right. So further, the process uses articles of the Sestake v. Trust during the trafficking process as some kind of authority, and also claims there's a difference between session laws and statutes. Remember, come in, spread it out 3 ways. Okay, now you have articles of the Sestake v. Trust, session laws, and statutes. Don't go to those mean statutes. Go to the session laws and see how that works. Oh, but use the Sestake v. Trust as the authority for it. So that brings the Vatican right into the state. That's what agents do, thereby using some kind of twisted interpretation of the so-called authorities. There's a connection between the fugitive and the trafficking persons. By the way, the fugitive we're talking about is this person here. Okay, is the use of the United States Postal Service box rented it by the fugitive and claiming that the man or woman is the administrator, and the fugitive claiming to be the fiduciary of the United States of America unincorporated, when really the fugitive possesses a blood oath to the Pope Francis, where no connection exists with the United States of America, and there is therefore a lie and a scam. So what she's doing is well, I'll explain it to you here in just a minute. The fugitive is telling people that the fugitive has the real entity and has inheritance rights to the real country, when in fact the fugitive created a private trust in a different name other than the real country, and claiming the persons are out of bondage, when in fact their persons have been trafficked into a private trust using the United States Postal Service to do it, in an effort to make everything look legitimate to the public and attacks anyone that might figure out what the fugitive is actually doing. In that link above, what she's doing is she's claiming that the claiming to be a part of the post office. She's going to set up a country. She's not setting up a country, folks. She is she's attacking the USPS, trying to create something like it. Okay, she's attacking it in case they come after her for the fraud that she's committing. And then when she does, she's the martyr. She sets up all these people, and then she uses these continental marshals, this crap scam that's going on. She uses them to protect her from the crimes that she's committing. And it's all just causing confusion. That's all it is. This is on 5/13/2020. The fugitive created another scam connected to this trafficking in persons scam by trying to recruit persons into a privately owned trust entity called the Continental Marshals to protect the so-called real post office postmasters, something of the fugitive's own creation, in order to try to discredit the United States Postal Service before it figures out what the fugitive is doing and the fraud that is being committed in the name of the United States Postal Service. It has been using a partial part of the name, the United States of America, and added unincorporated to commit international crimes in the name of a private trust of the fugitive's creation. So when the fugitive attacks someone or something, it says there's a threat of exposure to the fugitive's crimes. We're the only ones that can kind of figure this out and figure out what she's doing. It says the fugitive does it all the time, and the tactic is used by international criminals every day. Okay, so this is all a scam, big time scam. And I would suggest anybody that's done this would run from that any way you can, because in the document itself, it shows that the people are the administrator. She makes them the administrator. They're acting like they're claiming it, okay, and they're pulling it into this and using this trust deal, and using her post office box. Then it turns around under a certificate and says that the people are the administrator, and then she turns around and claims to be trustee. Think about it. That gives her legal title to your person. Makes you the administrator of it. So basically, she's putting your person into a personal trust, her own personal trust. Hell, anybody can do that. But she's acting like it's the only remedy. It's funny as hell. The problem, what's not funny, is she's taking people's money and giving them false hope that they're protected somehow and that their address is somewhere else and that they have a trustee. But basically, you're just being subjected to her private trust. She's pulling persons into her private trust. You can't do that, man. That's called international trafficking of persons, because she's not telling you she's doing it. That's trafficking in persons. Folks, each count on trafficking in persons, 20 years in jail. Each count. So each person that she claims to be an administrator, and she's trustee, in that name, the United States of America, unincorporated. Remember, she added that name and then claimed international jurisdiction, then tried to claim superior jurisdiction over everybody else, which you can't. Can't do that. It's separate and equal station, not separate and unequal station. Third. That's 20 years every single time she did that. So everybody that did it, everybody that thinks that they're covered, you just got scammed. Okay? What we do is we pull your person using your Declaration of Independence or Declaration of Residency, which is absolute, by the way. We pull your person from the offshore trust, Internal Revenue Trust, from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and whatever other trust is there, and we deliver it through the real General Post Office to the States of the Union, where you now have the ability to set up your own state. You can join the American National Union, and you can join the States of the Union Society. Okay, so even those people that just join the society will have to go through the naturalization process if they want to get it completed. We're putting that there for people, for the U.S. citizens, so that they have a chance to rest a little bit and they're able to see what's going on. In other words, they're able to understand things. It's a place where they can learn, ask questions, all that kind of stuff. So there you go. So that's what's going on either side. Whoever came up with that knows a lot about trusts. Whoever came up with that scam with that Anna did. I don't think it's Anna did it alone. We think there's many other people involved, and we think they all come together, and they don't realize. Well, no, I think they do believe or realize that everything they're doing is a scam. They're running a scam. We've had some theories that believe that think that it's a bunch of Germans in Germany doing it. They're drunk in a bar. They're just coming up with the craziest crap because none of it makes any sense. Oh, well, the U.S. Marshals, they only have sea jurisdiction, where the Continental Marshals have land jurisdiction to protect the real post office and all this other stuff. It's like, no, you guys just made that crap up about 2-3 years ago. There was no Continental Marshals anywhere at any time. But the way it's written, it makes it appear as if there's like 100 years ago. It's hilarious. It's a scam, folks. So if you see the government of the United States of America, no Continental Marshals. Our police are called human rights defenders. The ANU has its own police force. We don't mess with the Continental Marshals crap. Okay? Because those boys, U.S. Marshals don't take kindly to this shit that's going on, by the way. Okay? With this Continental Marshals crap. So, boys, you can bypass us, head right on to either Alaska or Texas, and you can go after them. Full, right on. Just go right on over there and get them. Because they're the ones that are pulling that crap. And the USPS, have at it, folks. Go after them. We're cool with it. I'm not going to say a word. Because they need to, they're screwing up big time. And they're screwing over a lot of people. So we're calling them fugitives. So they're fugitives from this government here. So let's move on. Now let's get to some more interesting stuff than that nut job crew. Okay. Now later on, we're going to be talking about redress of grievance. There's a huge thing going on there. That's going to be in the next show, I believe. What we want to do, though, what I want to do is, by the way, you'll see the connection between the redress of grievance and the Crown. So, and why the United States did it. That's interesting connection there. Okay, but we want to talk about. I want to talk about the what is backing the Crown. What's going on with them? Okay, and what I mean by the Crown, I mean the Rothschilds, Bank of England, bankers, the Crown, which is the 2,000-year-old country called the City of London today, and it has nothing to do with the Queen of England. Okay, it's a separate city-state. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, first thing we want to talk about is, or I want to talk about is 12b-6. Okay, 12b-6, for those who do not know, is a rule that judges love to use to get rid of cases that they don't like, especially when they're political judges. They'll do a 12b-6, which is failure to state a claim which relief can be granted. They always do this, okay? With especially political judges. Now they state in here that they've rarely go through, but we've seen them go through plenty of times. All right. So 12b-6 is we have a 12b and 12b-6 specifically deals with the motions to dismiss for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Many have heard this. Okay. As a practical matter, motions are rarely successful, which bullshit they are successful quite often. And when they are, their success usually has more to do with the judge than the law. There you go. Okay. Nevertheless, they appear regularly in law schools, civil procedure exams, and bar exam civil procedure questions, so it's important to be aware of them. It says failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted can mean a number of things, all of which have to do with what is stated in a complaint. All right. So first, and most typically, this means that the complaint failed to properly allege one or more of the required elements of an action. This is a lawyer. Okay, this is lawyer speak. Requirements. Here's what I mean by this. Suppose someone files a complaint for negligence, and the complaint must allege all of the elements of negligence, and the elements must be applied to the defendant or defendants. For example, in the above negligence lawsuit, let's say that defendant hit the plaintiff with his car. The plaintiff would have to allege all of the elements of negligence and apply them to the defendant, such as the following. And this is, by the way, I'll tell you in a minute. Defendant owed to plaintiff a duty of care. Defendant breached that duty of care. Plaintiff suffered injuries, and these injuries were a result of the defendant's breach of duty. Okay, that's why the Supreme Court came out and said that the police don't have a duty to protect people. It's to keep them from lawsuits. That's all it is. So they can do a 12b-6 every time there's a negligence suit against them. That's why they did it, to remove one of these elements, 1 through 4. Okay, so they're protecting their own butts. As mentioned earlier, 12b-6 motions are rarely successful. No, they're successful all the time. In no small part because of pleading requirements, and that's what they tell their lawyers, that they're rarely successful, but they're very successful. Quite liberal. In spite of these lax requirements, however, the above pleading example would be insufficient to defeat the 12b-6 motion. Now, the pleading is insufficient because all it does is, the court parlance, merely recite bare legal conclusions. Okay. So we can go on with this, but you kind of get the idea. You have to have elements, right? Okay. Now, what is the most valuable thing that everybody has in the world? The most valuable. And this is besides health. The most valuable thing that everyone has is time. Time trumps money, gold, silver, everything else. Everything in the world is time. Now, time is very specific because what do you say? Every day. You know what I'm saying because you see this every day. I just spent some time with my children. Oh, really? You spent time. So now time is now money to you. Okay? I just spent some time with my wife. I wanted some family time. You guys are wasting my time, wasting my money. The thing that is most valuable to me, these are all things that are stated by people every day. You say it, I say it, everybody else says it. I'm going to spend some time doing this today. I've got some plans. I want to do this today and this today. And this is why jails are so horrible because they are taking your time. That's what a sentence is. A sentence is, did you, time is the only thing, let's put this, a sentence is, time is the only thing that was used to pay a debt. They did that in the Bible too. If you had a slave, you had to let him go after 6 years of service. That bought their freedom. If you had owed a debt to somebody, it had to be forgiven within 7 years. You couldn't take their time in payment of that debt for more than 7 years, and you had to let them go. Okay? Now, what does the bank do? The bank, Rothschilds, okay, the Bank of England, they give loans out, supposed loans. And those loans are time for service. You serve the bank for 30 years, yet the house is not paid for. That's called usury. Usury has nothing to do with interest. Okay, interest is nothing more than a calculation. Money is nothing more than a calculation to prove that you spent the time doing something. In other words, if you worked for 30 years, you have the money to show for it, that you worked for 30 years on a particular job. That's only the evidence that you spent the time. All it does is it's nothing more than a calculation. Okay, so the banks are restructured under time. You'll also see this in lawyers when they backdate documents. They'll backdate cases. Got one going on in Utah right now where they're trying to backdate a case where a man transfers a trust or transfers property over to a trust before any kind of judgment was against him. And now they're trying to backtrack and back time in reverse so that they can get away from that. Okay, so they're playing time bandits. That's what the lawyers are doing. They love doing it. How are they able to do that? They work with, because time is the basis of their money. That's how it works. When a woman asks for alimony, she's looking for compensation for time spent. You get it? That's how they do it. Everything is based on it. Time is the essence of a contract. You'll notice that our time and our new year within the government of the United States of America is in March. We have separated times. Everybody else's, the U.S. citizens, theirs is in on January 1st. That's their New Year's Day. Ours is on the day of the spring equinox, which would be March 19th to the 21st, whatever it is. That's how we calculate time. If there's no time joinder, there is no contract. Okay? Now, if you don't believe me, let's go look at a movie. And I think that movie Lucy covers it in a couple of minutes, what I'm talking about. Not to say that just because it's in a movie it's true, but listen to the content and you'll see what I'm talking about. Because this is how they believe. You got to realize this. All right, here we go.
To access all this information.
Electrical impulses. Every cell knows and talks to every other cell. They exchange 1,000 bits of information between them per second. Cells group together, forming a giant web of communication, which in turn forms matter. Cells get together, take on one form, deform, reform. Makes no difference, it's all the same. Humans consider themselves unique, so they've rooted their whole theory of existence on their uniqueness. One is their unit of measure, but it's not. All social systems we put into place are a mere sketch. 1 + 1 = 2. That's all we've learned. But 1 + 1 has never equaled 2. There are, in fact, no numbers and no letters. We've codified our existence to bring it down to human size, to make it comprehensible. We've created a scale so that we can forget its unfathomable scale.
But if humans are not the unit of measure, and the world isn't governed by mathematical laws, what governs all that?
Film a car speeding down a road. Speed up the image infinitely. and the car disappears. So what proof do we have of its existence? Time gives legitimacy to its existence. Time is the only true unit of measure. It gives proof to the existence of matter. Without time, we don't exist.
And there you go. Okay. Now, if the Rothschilds in their Bank of England have removed the service and time as payment and gone directly to numbers, where it takes you 30 years to pay off a house that isn't worth a crap for 20, it isn't built out of materials that will last 20 years, you have to rebuild it, literally, in remodeling and everything else. It only lasts for a short period of time. The way built houses are built today, especially stick houses, they're horrible, horribly built. If that's the case, that's negligence, because you have time of service. Okay, you have to have time to take care of your children, time to pay attention to your wife or your husband. You have to have time for God, if you're a believer. And if you don't, and the bankers are stealing all that, that's called stealing time and stealing service, which is also called slavery. So if you're going to take and become an international banker, be the big man on campus, and I'm the one that has all the power, okay? With power comes what? Responsibility. Okay? So you have to have you have to owe a duty of care. That has to come from the Rothschild family and the Bank of England and all banks. There's a duty of care to make sure that all transactions don't commit religious violations. And this is why some religions don't allow interest. Because you're taking time, you're stealing it. Stealing time away from God. All right. Now, that is a breach that breached that duty of care. So the Rothschilds have breached that duty of care, to take within their transactions that says, okay, we're going to keep the value the way it is, but we got to make sure that that value acknowledges that duty of care that it takes. Nobody's saying that they don't want them to be bankers. No, who gives a crap if they're bankers or not? If they're good bankers, which are people that have a duty of care, and they take that responsibility seriously, then who cares? Yeah, great. You have all that money, wonderful. We do our job, you do yours, blah, blah, blah. Let's just live our life. Instead, they've got, I don't know, you've got they want their spirit cooking and all this other kind of devil worshiping crap, and the adrenochrome and all this other horse shit, okay? That costs money so to hide and pay people off to keep people from getting busted and all this other kind of crap. That's not taking care or accepting your duty of care. The injuries is you're putting people in jail for not creating a political, or for not making a political, a political choice in your favor. I give you, for instance, how many people go to jail because they don't have driver's licenses? Well, a driver's license is a political choice. That means that you believe it's okay for the state to regulate your private property. When you believe that and begin to believe that, that is a political choice. You have just become a communist. Because before 1913, when the Rothschilds came on and took over, they had a private and public registry at the Secretary of State, Office of the Secretary of State on each state, and it costs $1 or $2 to register your property. cars, horses, whatever it was, brands, that kind of thing. And you paid a couple of bucks and you got yourself a tag and you went on your day. That was it. No problems. None of this bullshit. Okay, the state didn't regulate your private property. You didn't hand it to the state. It wasn't registered with them where they got ownership and all this other kind of crap, which is what communism is. But these are some of the injuries that are being done because the people that don't want to do this, you take their time, you steal it, and then you do the same thing with this this new thing the House came out, House Resolution 6666, where you can go in and separate families. Well, that's a violation of international law, and that also steals time because somehow the state is saying there's a breach or some crap or whatever it is. It's stealing time on their part. That whatever the hell that is, that's dead in the water, no matter what. Who cares if they voted for it? The Democrats are used to stealing time. They believe everybody owes people time, okay? Then these injuries were a result of defendant's breach of duty. Absolutely. That breach of duty is you have to take care that people have time to spend with their families, to spend with God, to read the Bible if they need to study certain subjects if they want, and not keep them in debt for 20, 30 years after they get a college degree. See, colleges are stealing time, and they're stealing service. Time and service and stealing is slavery. Okay, wait till we get to how they protected. See, the Rothschilds won't react to this type of video because they believe they're protected. We know how they protected themselves. We're going to bust them on that in just a little while under the redress of grievance show. I'll do that next week. And a lot of people will have their remedies back and get very excited about it, believe me, because it's a enormous revelation to a lot of people. But first, you got to understand time. And once you understand that, if you spend your time studying and trying to get to the Father and understand Him better, and your Father in heaven, and try to understand your wife better and your children and how to become a better father or a better mother, or a child is trying to become a really good son or daughter, and they're studying and all these things, and you've got to go to work because you've got to pay Rothschild's stealing time. And that's when it gets bad. And he feeds his ego with, oh, look at all the great things I did. And no, you didn't do anything. All you did was steal people. Some of the greatest things that were ever done were done by slaves. Some of the greatest buildings ever built were built by slaves, not by great men. They stole that time. So keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind for this week, and we'll talk about the other next week. And we'll give you some examples to try to help people out. And thanks for listening to the 176th broadcast of the T-ROH Show. And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening, guys.